How's it going, everyone? This is Childhood DVD Fan here, and I'm back with another video. So earlier in the day, I asked you guys if you were interested in possibly seeing some wrestling on this channel. I've been wanting to, maybe possibly do this for a little while, and you guys, said you were okay with that, and so it's pretty cool to me, because I didn't know if I was going to do wrestling on this channel, because Jeremy knows the backstory. But I am going to be doing it from now on. Obviously, this channel will still have other elements as well. Wrestling's not the only one, but happy to hear you guys are, into that. So for this video, what I'm going to be doing for my first wrestling video here on Childhood DVD Fan, the real first one here, is I'm going to be showing you guys 13 WWE DVDs / Blu-Rays. Some of them are in Blu-ray format, which I have. That if you want to learn some history about wrestling, if you're ever interested in getting into wrestling and maybe having a collection of your own and really wanting to know just the art of professional wrestling, these are ones that I would highly recommend you get. Some of these are older and some of them are very expensive. But if you really want to learn just the history of, professional wrestling as a sport, these are the ones you definitely want to get. Now, let me just say this, that there are plenty of other DVDs and Blu-rays as well out there that I could have thrown on this list. The Monday Night War is one of them. That's certainly a huge guide if you want to learn more about the Attitude Era with WCW and WWF, but I have some DVDs related to that here on this list, just not that DVD. Anything with Hulk Hogan, obviously. I mean, Hulk Hogan was the first, real mainstream wrestler out there, in the 80s. So, if you want to learn about wrestling, Hulk Hogan's absolutely one of them. It's just I didn't put Hogan on here because I wasn't too sure if he had a doc or not. I couldn't remember if the Hulk Still Rules is one of them. Anything with Shawn Michaels, if you want to learn about wrestling, Shawn Michaels is one of them. The Heartbreak and Triumph DVD is a fantastic one. There are other ones out there, so please do not get mad if you're a wrestling fan watching this channel and one of those DVDs or Blu-rays is not in this list. I just chose 13, and you might be wondering why 13, because 13 is my favorite player of all time on the New York Yankees, and that's Alex Rodriguez. So it seems to be a good number for me. But these are just 13 DVDs and Blu-rays. I know I'm almost 3 minutes in. That if you want to start a collection or just learn about wrestling in general, these are ones you want to get because they teach you a lot of wrestling. So the first one here, this one was not very popular with DVD collectors out there. I actually view this one as one of the underrated DVDs of all time, and that is The Spectacular Legacy of the American Wrestling Association, the AWA. If you ever want to learn about the AWA, who was the home for many mainstream stars, Ric Flair, Hogan, you can see the list on here. Jerry Lawler, Sergeant Slaughter, Mr. Perfect, Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, Gene Okerlund, Bobby Heenan here on the cover. This was a great DVD. Vern Gagne was in this documentary. This is one of the ones that, if you want to just learn about, I believe this was in Minnesota with the AWA. It's been a little while, so I apologize. I don't remember it off the top of my head here. But man, if you want to just learn about wrestling and just, the origin of it, you have a nice documentary here that really just teaches you the beginning, when it really started to, take off in mainstream media. So this is an excellent DVD to own if you're a wrestling fan. Not a very popular one because many people think, oh, it's the AWA, so that means it's old and, who cares about that? But man, you know what? If you want to learn about wrestling, man, this is a great tool to use to watch. So very underrated DVD. First one here, the AWA DVD. Absolutely, yes. Next one coming up here actually is my personal all-time favorite WWE DVD ever of all time, and that is The Triumph and Tragedy of World Class Championship Wrestling. If you want to learn about world-class championship wrestling, if you want to learn about the Von Erichs, if you want to learn about Texas and the Freebirds and Gino Hernandez and Chris Adams and Iceman King Parsons and Fritz and just everybody who worked down in that territory, man, this is a DVD you must get. And what's cool about WWE DVDs is actually for some DVDs they actually make hidden content on them, which means that you know, if you get the DVD and you look for it, you won't be able to find it unless you hit buttons on your remote to try to find some extra content that they didn't want you to find, or they didn't want to tell you. They just wanted you to find it on your own. So all of these things here that you're seeing right here are not on the DVD. With this insert here, you had to find some extra hidden content. But man, you know, this one knocked it out of the park. Heroes of World Class Championship Wrestling is another great DVD, as well as Kevin Von Erich takes you in the Sportatorium before it got tore down in 2003. But man, this one, I have so many memories of this DVD. This is my all-time favorite DVD. If I were to sell all my wrestling DVDs, man, and keep one, this is one I will never, ever give away. There is one complaint I've always had about this DVD, and that is the fact that basically my all-time favorite wrestler, along with Jeff Hardy, Kerry Von Erich there with the NWA World Title, that match he had against Ric Flair on May 6, 1984 to win the NWA title, is not on this DVD. That's one of the things that still blows my mind, how that's not on this DVD. It's not on the hidden extras either, so they didn't put that match on the DVD at all, which blows my mind because they talked about it extensively in the documentary. But you know what? If you want to learn about 80s wrestling and just the expansion before really WWF took off, and just, you know, these guys definitely were pioneers of wrestling, that is a must own DVD. Must own. My all-time favorite. Okay? Coming up next, I've met this guy, I think like 9 or 10 times. I'm not even exaggerating. I've had this Blu-ray signed by him and DVD signed by him twice because, well, there was a long story to that. But here's my copy to watch at any point. Jerry the King Lawler. The Jerry Lawler story here on Blu-ray, man. If you want to learn about Memphis wrestling, this guy is the face of Memphis wrestling, okay? Jerry Lawler was the king of wrestling in Memphis. You know, you had Elvis Presley down in Memphis, but Jerry Lawler, when you think of wrestling, he is the face of wrestling. An unbelievable documentary. You know, Lawler's been wrestling for years now. He still wrestles. I've seen him wrestle so many times before. He jumped to the WWF in 1993. And, you know, obviously was a wrestler a few times there, but really got over as a commentator. Even had a heart attack on live television in 2012. So this is one of the ones, if you want to learn about just the expansion of wrestling, Memphis wrestling, Jerry Lawler story, that is a must own. And that one is available also on DVD, but I have the Blu-ray here. I do have the DVD as well, but it's away. Next up here, I've also got this DVD signed, but this is another copy, so this one's not signed by him. That, you know, the ones that are signed by the wrestlers are stored away in plastic in the closet. Next up here, we have Bret the Hitman Hart. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. If you want to learn about Stampede Wrestling and just, you know, the expansion of the WWF in the 90s, kind of a little after Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart is the guy. You know, there's some hidden content on this DVD as well. This one, you know, it tells the story. It's got some great pay-per-view matches. Bret was actually given full creative control with this DVD. There's a long story behind that. I don't want to get into why. But if you just want to learn about one of the top guys in wrestling in the early 90s to mid-90s, Bret Hart was one of the best of all time. Truly one of the best of all time. Okay? So that is a must own DVD. Next up here, this is the only pay-per-view DVD on this whole, man, I'm already 10 minutes in, shit. But, this is the only pay-per-view. The rest of them are not well, technically one of them is, but This is really the only pay-per-view, the most expensive DVD here in the bundle. Next up here we have WrestleMania 17. If you want to learn just about the height of the Attitude Era, the height of the WWF's popularity, and just the height of WrestleManias in general, this is the one. This is the best WrestleMania of all time. Not even close. This is such an amazing, amazing WrestleMania. A lot of people don't like the ending because of Steve Austin, Stone Cold, turning heel. But I thought it was the right decision, even though he claims it wasn't. I thought it was the right decision because it makes it so unique. You remember this pay-per-view for Steve turning heel and joining forces with Vince McMahon, who he had a huge feud with, which I'll get into, a little later on. Just going to get this DVD out here. So, this is an older DVD. This is a really old DVD, 2001. This is back when they were the WWF, before they had to change to WWE in mid-2002 because of legal issues with the World Wildlife Federation or Foundation or whatever the hell it's called, the panda shit. So, yeah, but WrestleMania 17, I mean, this is an amazing event. This is the unedited, event. This is the one you want to get. This is really expensive to get, but this is a must own. The main event, there's Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock for the WWF title in the Astrodome. Fantastic. I can watch that DVD every day and never get bored. Speaking of which, next up, I'm sure a lot of you guys know The Rock, because, you probably know The Rock, the actor, in movies, but many of you probably don't know The Rock, the wrestler, who I'll always remember. But here you have The Rock, the epic journey of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. This is the documentary where he tells you everything you need to know about Dwayne Johnson. He tells you everything you need to know, and just his amazing popularity and charisma and catchphrases, because The Rock talked his way over. I mean, he was a good wrestler. There was no question about that, but he got over by his mic skills. Truly one of the best to ever do it. This one's available on DVD as well. I have the Blu-ray here. This one, man, if you want to just learn about how to get over as a wrestler, if you want to learn about how to be a megastar, this is one you need to get. Next up here, speaking along the lines of Rock and Stone Cold, we have Stone Cold Steve Austin, the bottom line of the most popular superstar of all time. This right here is the very first Blu-ray I ever got, and the bottom's always been broken, but whatever. If you want to learn about just, how to get over along with The Rock, because Stone Cold came a little before The Rock did, in 96, Rock got over in 99. Man, this is one to get. Just so much content. The documentary, once again, if you want to know anything about Steve Williams, aka Steve Austin, this is the one you need to get. Just fantastic. Steve really got over by his mic skills as well, and just his amazing ability to be a legitimate star, and whatever, in his feud with McMahon, who was the owner of the company, Vince McMahon. Because people just paid to want to see Vince get his ass kicked, and this is just an amazing piece if you want to learn about wrestling and just how to become a gigantic megastar. So that's that. Next up here, probably in my opinion the best wrestler to ever lace up a pair of boots. Not my favorite wrestler, but certainly I would easily say that this guy is the best one to ever lace up those pair of wrestling boots, and that is Ric Flair, the Ultimate Ric Flair Collection. This one is jam-packed to the rafters with footage. This is 10.5 hours of a DVD, which is very unusual. That's a lot for a 3-disc DVD. But not only that, there are so many extra hidden content with this DVD. Unfortunately, my DVD has a little button thing here that's supposed to be there that is broken. It's wonderful. So, hang on one second. So I have to try to keep my disc 3 in order. Thought maybe a little piece of tape might be able to do the job, but It appears not to be. So you have to put like a little piece of a tape to keep it, from falling out. It did fall out there, unfortunately. But, Ric Flair, man. I was supposed to meet Ric Flair in 2017 and get this DVD signed, a sealed one. Unfortunately, he pulled out of the show because, but then again, it's Ric Flair. I can understand. Sorry, just let me get this out. So, this is a 10.5-hour DVD on before even all these extra hidden features that you wouldn't be able to find unless you went looking for them. Man, Ric Flair, if there's one wrestler out of all the other ones who really just screams a professional wrestler and everything that comes along with it, this is the guy. Hulk Hogan is right there, man, but Ric Flair was the best to ever do it. He was just the best to ever lace up the pair of boots. And this one technically isn't the one. There's another Ric Flair DVD that came out later on called the Definitive Collection that has more of a documentary base, but there's so much wrestling in this. This is the better one and the older one of the two to get. Fantastic. Next up here we have the rise and fall of WCW. If you ever want to learn about World Championship Wrestling, who really gave it WWF a run for their money for a few years in the late 90s to, in early 90s, late 90s, this is the company, man. Eventually Vince won WCW and WCW and ECW in 2001, but they beat WWF in the ratings war for like 83 weeks. And this just tells the story. I mean, look at that documentary right there, just so much World Championship Wrestling footage. This is just fantastic. I know they changed the story a little bit in this DVD, whatever, but if you want to learn about further wrestling, WCW, man, this is one to get. There's no question, this is one to get. Got 4 left. I'm already almost 20 minutes in because I'm a passionate wrestling fan. Now, this is arguably the best DVD that they've ever made, ever. I can easily see why so many people have this as their all-time favorite DVD. But it's not my favorite. I've already shown you guys my favorite, the Triumph and Tragedy of World Class Championship Wrestling. But man, this one right here. If you want to learn just about ECW, you don't need to get anything else but this right here. This is over a 2.5-hour documentary on ECW. I want you guys to see just the documentary how long. This one also has some hidden content as well. 3 of them. Man, just look at all that. Look at all that content, man. This one is the cream of the crop as far as wrestling DVDs. Look at all that, man. You don't need to wonder about anything else with ECW outside of this DVD, because this DVD covers everything you need to know about ECW, man. This one is the bomb, man. This one just is amazing. Amazing. Paul Heyman was the owner of ECW. Later on, there were a couple people who owned it before. But my goodness, this one is just loaded to the rafters with wrestling knowledge and footage. Man, this one just is. This one's amazing, absolutely amazing. Rise and Fall of ECW, must own. Coming up next, this in my opinion is the second best wrestler of all time, the one behind Ric Flair. I said Hulk Hogan earlier on the video, he's definitely up there, but in my opinion, the second best to ever do it is The Undertaker. 20-0, he went 20 straight WrestleManias without a loss. Now the record, I think, is like 22-2 or something like that, which he may not wrestle again. He had his last match supposedly against AJ Styles at this year's WrestleMania under weird circumstances, obviously with the pandemic and everything. But man, if you just want to watch the face of WrestleMania, which is WWE's largest event of the year, there is no one else who even comes close to the face of WrestleMania. Every time, if there's one word that describes WrestleMania, it's Undertaker. Okay? Shawn Michaels was a very good performer at WrestleMania, man, but no one else will ever be able to match the legacy of The Undertaker at WrestleMania. 20 straight WrestleManias without a loss. I mean, I know it's all predetermined and phony and all that, technically, but man, he just was the best at WrestleMania. I know I had the DVD of this at some point. I don't know. I can't remember if I got rid of it or whatever. Maybe I sold it or whatever. I don't recall that, but I have the Blu-ray here of Undertaker. Man, this one is just amazing. Next up here, we have, speaking of The Undertaker, if you want to just learn about WrestleMania, the biggest event of the year, and just even more about WrestleMania than just The Undertaker, this is one to also grab. My neighbor was doing a yard sale not that long ago, and she had this, but I already had it, so I didn't buy it. And then the final one, if you just want to learn about the man in wrestling responsible for about 95% of everything that has happened in the expansion of pro wrestling, there's only one man who is responsible for most of it. I mean, there's obviously other, bookers and owners and whatever, but this is the face of owning a wrestling company of all time, and that is Vince McMahon. You get the sense, you get the, with the documentary here in 2006, if you just want to learn about, Vince's early, childhood, and just how, he bought the company from his father and turned it into a worldwide promotion, which his father was vehemently against. He did not want Vince to go worldwide with this because he was more local, but Vince did not do that. Man, this is the man right here. I mean, Vince, he's very old now, and he definitely he's lost too many brain stem cells. He's not the same he once was, but just the expansion that he did in the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s, the late 70s as well. This is the guy. This is the face of professional wrestling as far as, allowing such amazing memories to happen. It's Vince. All right. So these are the 13 WWE, WWF, DVDs, and Blu-rays that, if you have nothing about wrestling, if you have no knowledge about wrestling, if you were to watch all those 13, you would have a pretty damn good idea what professional wrestling is all about. This has been Childhood DVD Fan. So long, everyone.